Hi, my name is Cynthia Chang, and I'm an associate professor at the University of Washington in Bothell. Our school is part of the University of Washington system, but here at the Bothell campus, we are a primarily undergraduate institution. So that means I only work with undergraduate students. I mentor undergraduate students to do research, and I, of course, teach them. So a large part of my job is to teach classes, but I also get to do research, and I have lots of undergraduates in my lab, and we do field research together in ecology and field work over the summer. And like most professors, I also do a lot of service work, which entails some administrative work, which does involve a lot of meetings, but usually I get to choose leadership positions and meetings that and committee work that speaks to my own interests. And so I'm personally really interested in equity and inclusion. So much of my service work is related to that. And I'm happy to share my salary. My salary is in the low 90,000s, but like most professors, I'm on a 9-month salary. So that only covers 9 months of my pay. And I don't technically get paid over the summer unless I get a grant to cover my summer salary to do research. So just something that is particular to a lot of academic positions. Oftentimes as you go up the ranks, your salary will increase. Oftentimes this also entails taking on more leadership positions, which will sometimes increase your salary. A lot of times people go on to be department chairs or academic deans. So there's some options there. And I should also preface this with the area that I live in, which is the Seattle area, has a pretty high cost of living. So $90,000 is a little bit below the median salary in this area. So thinking back in time, would my high school self be surprised at where I've ended up? I would say probably a little bit. I've always known that I wanted to be a scientist in some way, but I didn't really know much about ecology. I didn't know that was even a field that people could do research in or get jobs in. I thought I wanted to work in a lab, so I had this image of doing a lot of lab work and pipetting a lot, and I somehow got fixated in my mind that I wanted to study virology and work in some sort of medical lab. But as I progressed in my education, I took a lot of different kinds of biology classes, and I kept coming back to ecology because I just loved being outside, and I love studying plants. I like that they don't move. I think they're beautiful. They're really interesting. They're the basis of all of our ecosystems. So just when I started college, I tried volunteering and taking classes in different kinds of research labs, and found that I really connected with growing plants, doing greenhouse work, doing field work, and so just kept pursuing that. What's my day-to-day job like? One of my favorite parts of my job is the fact that as a professor, I get to wear a lot of different hats. And so what that usually means is that my day-to-day is pretty different, which means there's a lot of variety, and I really like that. So I teach several different classes. So sometimes I'll teach upper division biology classes, lower division biology classes, labs, field courses, things in the greenhouse. But I also get to do research with students. So that means I get to meet with my students one-on-one or in small groups, and I get to help them in the greenhouse or look at current journal articles together, or sometimes we'll do data analysis, and we'll really be sitting down in front of the computer and doing statistics and making graphs in R, and teaching them how to do basic coding in R. I also go to a lot of meetings. So right now I'm taking on a little bit more leadership positions. So that is also exciting because I get to kind of try and shape and implement programs that I hope will benefit our students, our undergraduate students. So creating scholarship opportunities, research opportunities, kind of looking at our curriculum to see how we can really increase equity and inclusion in our biology majors. So that's kind of the variety that I'm able to do. Some of the worst parts that there's always frustrating parts. I think sometimes I get frustrated with some more administrative tasks, especially tasks that I feel like I'm not really trained well to do. I'm always surprised at how much of science is a lot of like keeping track of things like budget and people management, and there's aspects of that that I wasn't trained in doing, and I kind of have to learn on the fly, and so kind of dealing with some of the more unsavory parts of people management, if there's conflict management in my classes. Unfortunately, sometimes I have to deal with things like cheating and academic dishonesty, and that always makes it kind of hard for me, unpleasant for me. So for me, those are some of the, I would say, worst parts of my job. Any advice for biology majors who are considering a career in ecology? My first piece of advice, I think, would be to keep an open mind. There's a lot of options out there, so just give yourself some flexibility. I know sometimes when you're in high school or you're an undergrad, going through your education, you have this plan, like I must do this by this time, and I have to meet all these requirements, and you can get kind of caught up in those introductory classes that might feel very challenging. But I think it's important to kind of keep an open mind and just think about trying new things. You never know what might surprise you, what you might be really good at. And just because you're not good at something early on doesn't mean that you can't learn and have that growth mindset. I would say ecology and evolution, my field that I study right now, was probably not one of my strongest biology classes. I was really interested in it, but it wasn't something that came naturally to me, and I kind of had to work at it. I think that's true for most people, and so just kind of keeping an open mind and trying out different things to give yourself some room to grow is a great way to kind of pursue ecology, especially because it's a pretty open field. I guess my second piece of advice I would also say is don't shy away from the math and the statistics. It's really, really important in our field, and it's actually a really translatable skill. So even if you decide you don't want to go into ecology, a lot of jobs and a lot of people are looking for people who have skill sets in data science and data visualization. There's actually a lot of art behind data visualization. So if you have kind of an artistic bone, don't shy away from learning how to code and learning some statistics and basic math. It goes a really, really long way in our field, and I would say any field. Any thoughts on why ecology is important to learn, even if you're not considering a career in ecology? Well, I would argue that ecology is kind of the basis for understanding our natural world. And as humans, sometimes we get trapped in this mindset that we're not part of the natural world, but we are. We're dependent on the natural world for everything, all our food and our happiness and our clean water. So I would say, just as a citizen of the planet, it's really important to understand how the natural world works, and kind of keep in mind how we can safeguard a lot of our ecosystems, understanding how does climate change work? How is it affecting us? How can we do things to try and mitigate things? If you're interested in conservation, even if not in practice for your job, it's just good to know, just as a person out there, hopefully possibly educating other members of the public. So I would say ecology is a great basis for not only understanding our natural world, but a good entry point into understanding how science works. So hopefully that was helpful, and feel free to reach out and email me if you want to get in touch. My email address, my university email address is cynchang@uw.edu, or you can just Google Cynthia Chang Plant Ecology. I'm at UW Bothell. Thanks for listening, and good luck with everything.